Love my rats, but as a species, to not be willing to admit that they could end human life on a massive scale is just naive. A good hunter understands the concept of population control and the benefits that it provides to both an ecosystem and us as human beings. However, when it comes to predators, most people don't understand the relationship between predator and prey and how that affects us. In particular, how we benefit from snakes when it comes to rodents. The idea of population control with snakes is a dangerous one. Unlike an animal such as a deer, snakes are predators, and they keep an ecosystem healthy by controlling its prey population, such as rats, mice, and rabbits. This in turn prevents the spread of parasites, such as fleas and ticks, and then all of the diseases that both the rodents and the parasites carry. Common diseases are going to be rat bite and tick fever, hantavirus, and Lyme disease. And here's the thing, we know major diseases can be spread by rodents. It happened with the Black Plague. And if we're not careful and we keep trying to meddle in the balance of nature, we could be looking at our next coronavirus or our next pandemic. The idea of controlling snake populations, particularly venomous snakes, is common in some areas, but it is entirely based off of misinformation and misconceptions. So today I want to go over those misconceptions, I want to talk about how we benefit from snakes, and I want to talk about the consequences we could face if we push the envelope too far. I'm going to be focusing on venomous snakes that we have here, and for a good reason. For those of you who haven't understood prior, I'm not upset. I understand that the concept of controlling the population of something venomous and potentially deadly sounds like a good idea. But I want to address 3 reasons why this concept doesn't work. The first is population control of predators versus population control of prey. The second is substituting non-venomous snakes for the venomous ones. And the third is explosions in rodent populations due to a lack of predators. On average, female rattlesnakes have about a dozen babies. However, in a healthy ecosystem, the mortality rate is going to be over 90%. This is largely in part to the availability of food. This would mean that the likelihood of more than one making it to adulthood is slim. So naturally, a cycle exists. When there's more food, more babies survive. And as they get older, the next generation has a harder time finding their way and they're more likely to perish. However, if there's been a purge of predators in an area, these baby vipers have a higher chance of survival due to the lack of competition and the higher abundance of food. Now with rodents, they're largely a primary consumer, which means there is no lack of food for them to survive upon, and it's not a hindering factor in the growth of their population. They exist in abundance and they're consumed in abundance. It is for this reason that the concept of population control of rattlesnakes is fallible. And so is the idea of being overrun by these predators. Attempting to control their population only guarantees a growing population of rodents. Many other factors exist in these cycles, such as the other predators like birds of prey. But to keep this video shorter, I'm going over the concept with a broad brush. Just know that snakes hunting works in its niche in such a way that it wouldn't work so well for the predators from above. A common argument to this balance is going to be the idea that non-venomous snakes can pick up the slack. This idea is erroneous due to the fact that the length of time it takes a non-venomous snake to grow to a size where it can take on larger prey items can be twice as long as a venomous one. For example, this bull snake is about 6 years old and it can take on pretty sizable prey. In comparison, rattlesnakes that are only 3 years old can manage the same sized prey. And at 3 years old, this snake would be a lot more limited on what rodents it could take on. The final point that I want to cover is the fact that population control isn't so clear-cut. What I mean by that is snakes have natural barriers to keep them from moving to certain locations. So when a snake hunter gasses a den, a lot of times those snakes get dislocated and in following years they move to different areas. In many cases, this area can be residential and it can cause a lot of problems for those in that community. But sometimes snakes have enough natural barriers to keep them confined to an area and that population gets removed entirely. With no new snakes to serve as predators, it serves as a perfect habitat for its prey item to explode in population. These rodents only have to worry about finding food. And they're also more nomadic, and they can move across these barriers that these snakes cannot. These barriers could include plains or open areas where the snakes would get picked off by birds of prey, large bodies of water, and sometimes it's something man-made, like a road. But why does this all matter? Snakes controlling these populations help prevent the spread of parasites and disease, and they have immunities to things that would otherwise affect us, enabling them to consume these rodents. They operate naturally, so unlike farm cats, which spread many diseases themselves and are invasive, they stick to their niche species to keep an ecosystem healthy. We are already seeing a massive increase in rodent population. Articles everywhere are covering it. And as bad as coronavirus is, things could be a lot worse. How prepared can you say that you are for a disease that can affect our food and cause famine? And the mortality rate for the next disease could be a lot higher. Look, we don't know where the next disease or pandemic is coming from, but it has been spread by rodents before, and that could happen again in the future. Humans are known for meddling in nature and not being able to set the course straight again. And we don't need to wait until something goes wrong and look back and wish we had done things differently. We need to take action now. We need to stop needlessly killing snakes for a false sense of security, and we need to learn to live with nature and respect the world around us. We need to do this for snakes, for our ecosystem, and for ourselves.